All right, we are here for session 42 across the Atlantic, session 15. I'm fixing my notes to give you a recap of what happened in the last couple sessions. We are on Friday, February 9th, 1923, at sea, crossing the Atlantic several days into the voyage. The boat has been rocking more seriously in the storm as the rain continues to increase. You discuss what to do in the events of the night before as you wake up in the morning. And about how Hughes was on the deck after hearing a splash, as well as, of course, the combat that you found yourselves in with the strange fishmen that came up from the sea. You had discussed what to do next, and this more or less still stands around whether you speak with Cuthbert, speak with Hughes, which you did do, we'll get to in a moment, speak with Hastings, speak with a captain, speak with the bursar, set some kind of other trap, look into the fishmen, which is one of the things that you did accomplish last game, and also follow up with Flinders. So Watts, with Watts player being away last week, was looking after the box. Watts also had to decide whether he was going to relay his dream to whether it be his bunkmate, Mr. Brady, or the investigators at large. Wright and Brady had gone to breakfast. They see a few people there and around, but like fewer people than usual. But they go to get some food and coffee. Obviously, some people are staying in their cabins due to the rough seas causing seasickness. They do see Mrs. Hastings. She seems in unusually good fettle, and she wants to meet after lunch in the library to discuss her discoveries, which she does not particularly go into detail about. With an extreme psychology roll, you decide that Miss Green seems very on edge. You go and check out the fishmen. It's Nora and Draper head down there to see if they can do some sort of very rough autopsy. Like, you can look at it, take some photos. You go find the first mate on the bridge. Nora talks her way onto the bridge after initially being denied access. The first mate has a boy bring them down to the cold storage in the bottom of the boat. They convince the boy to stay at the top of the stairs so that they do not get locked down there. They head into the room. Draper has to do a sanity save, being shocked by the sight of this fishman for the first time. First aid attempt to check the body, since they do not have particularly medical or autopsy-specific skills. Don't find much due to the poor rolls. You take a bunch of really good photos, though. Wright and Brady head off to see Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes is... so they head to steerage to find him. Hughes is chatting with a couple of young ladies. They watch him to see what he's doing. He seems to just basically be hitting on them, and they politely decline his advances. You head up to first class with him to talk in private, to go and onto the public deck, despite the rain. Hughes tells you that there are two men throwing a box overboard in the night. He volunteers this information rather than having to be cajoled to do so. He mentions that the box looks just like the one that you initially lost that was taken from down in the hold. He mentions that he saw a scuffle, some kind of gunfight on the bow from looking down from the upper deck while he was going around. You leave it deliberately a bit misleading with Hughes about the box and what was theoretically in it. Mention making a decoy and that it wasn't taken. And then as you leave, Wright mentions out loud that I don't know how we're going to tell the others. Essentially alluding to Hughes that the second box that was taken was in fact the decoy, or was in fact the real box that had been in the captain's quarters. As we all know, the real box remains in your quarters, and that was the second decoy. That takes us to today, where we have, to today's game. Anything else you guys want to add? Otherwise, though, we need to roll back very briefly to Mr. Watts and whether he wants to relay anything about his strange dream that kicked off the end of the previous game.
Are you able to recount my dream, because that is completely out of my notes?
You found yourself in a foyer of a large Victorian mansion. White cloth covers all the furniture.
Yes.
It looks as if there was some time since it had been inhabited, judging by the layer of dust that coats everything. The windows are shuttered and only a small trickle of light filters through, allowing you to see. To the right, there appears to be a library, judging by the bookshelves. To the left, a drawing room. A staircase ascends ahead to the left, and with a hall to the right, heading towards a large set of double doors. You chose the library to go to. Where?
I failed my library check, but I believe I found a book that had some information about.
Yes. So you in the library you find a book in Greek with some, but that you recognize some of the words on the cover about Atlanteans. There are some pictures showing a city and its people, including some pictures of hybrid deep ones among them. And
Yeah,
I
I thought.
think you brought the book back.
Yes, I have the book.
That's my notes. So I think are in the shared notes doc. I think that was. I think I kept that.
Yeah, I thought I told Brady when I woke up.
I think we
Yeah,
couldn't remember.
you did. You did, but I guess it was more along the lines of whether or not you're going to share it with the group, not just not really me, but the group.
Yeah, because I asked if you could speak Greek, which
Yeah.
you cannot. Speak, read, or write Greek. Sorry.
Because last week in the morning, whenever we met with everybody, I had basically my character decided on whether or not I was going to say anything, and I figured I would just leave it up to your discretion.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I will tell. I will ask if anyone can read or write Greek, or read Greek, and let them know of my. I know they're disapproving that I am messing around with this stuff, but I will ignore that. But showing them the book I'd found with the pictures I've found of those people, hoping that's enough to get them interested. So
Well,
what's
it's
the set? Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the setting? Are we at breakfast or lunch or something?
So you had been left to mind the box for the morning, but the morning is starting to wrap up. We're about at midday. Essentially, that what will be happening is that Wright and Brady will be returning from seeing Mr. Hughes, while Nora and Draper will be returning from investigating the fishman who had been kept in cold storage. This, I guess, would be like a little bit before lunch that you would be grouping back up in the room to discuss your findings and decide where to go next. Like I mentioned, in terms of what we discussed last time around things that you have pending that you want to do, there is obviously you've already spoken with Mrs. Hastings about meeting up with her after lunch in the library. Cuthbert is potentially to be tracked down and spoken with. You have the bursar who is looking into the crew manifest for anybody who is suspicious. There is following up with Hughes as to whether you want to tell him to talk to the first mate or the captain or somebody to make sure that they are in line to know that there's somebody else who corroborates your story and what's going on. They're speaking with the captain himself, who had gone to sleep and may still be resting. There's Flinders, and
Setting another trap was one of them. Did we do
and
that?
setting another trap. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, Captain
Hughes.
Cuthbert, Hastings, Hughes, Bursar, Fishman, Trap, Flinders.
Yeah, so Hughes and Fishman have essentially been checked off, with the exception of planting an additional, which doesn't necessarily need to be right away, but like getting Hughes to go and corroborate your story and talk with the leadership on the boat.
All right, so I guess Mr. Wright walks in, and I'm like, "Quick, come look!" And I open up this book, and I'm showing pictures to you.
when you ask if anyone speaks Greek,
Yeah.
I'll say, Mr. Watts, haven't you ever heard the phrase, it all looks like Greek to me?
Yeah,
That's
I
not
assumed-
because a lot of people speak Greek.
Well, I mean, in my dream last night, I found this book, and it came back with me. And look, it's the fish people, the hybrids.
That's fortuitous. Where did you get this?
Oh, um, my dream egg thing. This time I was in a mansion, like a Victorian mansion. I went straight to the library.
S- So you seem to be appearing in different places every time.
Yeah, yeah, it seems that way. I've been in a science lab. I've been in this grey plane, which is really creepy. Um,
And Mr. Brady was floating in a strange void next to a gargantuan being.
Mr. Brady was floating in a large void next to a gargantuan being.
That's strange.
I can't remember. Did I tell anybody about that
Me.
other than okay? I was just trying to think.
I was
Sorry.
going to say, I think you told Watts, but it didn't. I don't know if it came up
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, because I think I woke up just really like breathing hard, so
Yeah.
just gasping for air.
Weren't we advising Miss Hastings not to dive into her otherworldly possessions during this voyage?
No, that's spells. Spells different. That's different. That's spells. This is a thing, object. I know that. I know that you guys don't obviously think it's wise to do so, but look at the information I got.
Wasn't for my benefit. It was you that was worried about the storm and the happenings around this voyage.
I still am worried about the storms and the happenings. I still think we're screwed. But if we can use anything to our advantage to somehow get a, a step up or a leg, why wouldn't we take that advantage? I feel like I should look at the object and study the object as well in the box.
Well, it is your risk to take. I won't argue otherwise.
Would you want to take this book to Mrs. Hastings?
Yes, she's a lady of intelligence, very much educated. She might be able to shed some more light on this.
Now
I
that
believe
now that we mention Miss Hastings, Miss Green did seem quite unnerved at lunch today. I'm wondering if she's been delving into uh, her possessions.
I wonder. I mean, maybe they're running their own investigation, hearing the rumors of the fish people and realizing that they're not so great and good like Mrs. Hastings seems to think they are.
She seemed to be in good spirits, but Miss Green, on the other hand, I hadn't seen her in that state before.
Miss
Uh,
Hastings does seem to enjoy all sorts of things that upset Miss Green.
Freaky.
And I did see the associate of Miss Hastings scurrying down to the lower decks. He was in a hurry, and I didn't quite see where he went. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but there definitely seems to be something. Whether or not it's him personally or something that she was inquiring about.
No, I believe the lady of that particular personality is likely investigating whatever she puts her mind to. We may as well share everything we know with her and see if she can help. She's not going to sit this one out.
Miss
I looked at
Baker,
Mr.
you'd said that you'd caught her alone once before, hadn't you? Perhaps you could meet with her again. See what has her so unhinged.
Could try, I suppose.
Mr. Cox there. I do wonder why he was going down into the lower decks, maybe looking to see if her possessions were still safe. Question mark.
I don't imagine she's parted with that book for a moment on this
I mean,
voyage.
like monetary value ones. Sure, she's not traveling light.
Who knows? Maybe there's some cards yet played by her I would assume that she's not going to let any one of us know everything. So maybe there's more to find out on that side.
Most likely.
It is possible she is playing some sort of game of her own. She could be telling us everything we need to know, but not in the right order. She seems the type to get bored easily. But perhaps this is a way that we can approach the matter from two angles once more. She doesn't see us spending too much time together. She may open up more to one party or the other. Since you have
I've shot
arranged
my
this
shot.
lunch, perhaps I will sit this one out and see if we can compare our stories.
I guess out of character, we hadn't talked about Mr. Wright and myself's findings with Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that's basically due to be discussed. The
Okay.
fact that the box was hurled over the side, and that Mr. Hughes was happy to tell you that information about his being on deck and seeing this being done by specifically the two fellows that you have suspicions of.
We did follow up with Mr. Hughes at breakfast.
Anything new from his money grubbing hands?
We were
Turn-
we were vague with him to see what he would tell us, and he seemed truthful about his. At least his story was plausible. Um,
Yeah, it turns out the two people that we were most suspicious of were the two individuals that he was actually trailing that night whenever I saw him. Shortly after I heard the splash. And to his story, he saw them throw off our cargo, if you want to call it that, off the ship into the water, and so that could have been the splash that I was hearing.
Seems most convenient, but they were fairly suspicious. Throwing it off the ship also answers the question of how exactly they think they're going to transport it so far before we get to shore.
Moreover, it seemed they were upset at the fact that they hadn't even looked inside before being ordered to throw it overboard.
Speaking of which, I feel like we should look inside, see if we can learn more about this object.
They were specifically warned not to do that. I think matters don't really call for such drastic solutions just yet.
I
I do feel
Mm.
that would very much be a last resort. It seemed quite dangerous from every account we've received about it.
I've had nothing but great experiences with these objects. I.e., learning more.
I'll say my proximity with the object has been quite unsettling.
Our very first experience with an artifact of this nature was far from pleasant.
Well, that was the jail cell thing, but it helped me understand what we were dealing with a lot more. Like it gave me some type of connection where I could understand more.
If papers can make men go entirely mad, rabid even, I don't want to know what an object like this can do.
And I can only give the tale of my friend's misfortune with an object like this so many times. There's no telling that this object would have the same effect upon touching it. I just know the material matched.
You did mention your friend running among some object like this. What more can you tell us about that?
We in our in it was probably the first or second job I ever worked with Mr. Wick for. He had located an object and needed pickup, and me and my friend were the ones he hired to do so. And when when my friend grabbed it, soon after, she was not herself.
And I asked you before, maybe something came to you since then, but can you recall anything that your friend was saying? Even if it was the slightest amount of gibberish that you think was gibberish, anything.
It's been a few years. I can't really recall anything specific.
Did they like drawing? It's easy for them to draw.
Did they do any drawings like at the asylum or anything, Mike?
In the back of my notes.
I don't know if there was any specific thing that you said.
The no sleep would come to her that night, and the next morning Roland found her muttering a long string of guttural noises and nonsense incantations, huddled in a corner, vacillating back and forth, clutching her knees. Her eyes focused on nothing, and any physical contact caused her to cry out, retreating backwards. Wick had no helpful insights. Went to seek professional help. Left her in their care. Yeah, I don't have any notes saying specifically that she had done any drawings or inscriptions. I suppose, given your recent experiences, if you want to make like an occult or mythos roll to see whether you can draw any lines between what you heard at that time, but like it's obviously thinking back a few years, going to be a bit of an outside bet.
Yeah, I'll try. Let me see. Where is mythos? My cult is.
Mythos would be a lower bar in terms of success, but obviously a harder to hit because you probably don't have much in the way of mythos skill.
Yeah, but both are very low. I guess I'll try mythos.
Extreme success.
You gotta hit.
No.
Yeah, basically then, I mean, I'll say then beyond having a success in that regard, you very loosely, without having any roll, might draw some connection, obviously, which we've already basically discussed. That there's some similarities between the two artifacts. What you're supposed to be carrying that you have seen briefly before you picked it up when you were initially met with Mr. Wick, and the one that you saw that night before. In terms of the experience that beset your friend, it would be a reasonable jump to be like, oh, like this is something like mythos related. This is something that is a cult. That she is being affected by something. Like, you don't think that she just randomly went crazy. I think in being an investigator in this world, that you may like yes, like something that is in some ways related to what we're experiencing here is otherworldly and was affecting her psyche and causing her these delusions.
By chance, has did you hear the noises, Ronald? That may I call you Ronald, or do you prefer Mr. Draper?
It's Roland, but Mr. Draper's fine.
By chance, did you hear the? Did you hear the fish people on the deck? The noises that they were making. Does that noise, the noises they were making, sound familiar?
I, from the room, I didn't hear much other than
Oh right.
the occasional gunfire.
Yeah, I certainly did not catch the.
I should mention that
Excellent.
with with the results of us being obvious in our movements of the the decoy to the captain's quarters, as well as planning the seeds with cues that we were moving our object to the captain's quarters. Whether it was him or not, we thought it prudent to give him the impression that our object has been taken and thrown overboard. So whether he's interrogated against his will or has other designs, it's he believes that we no longer have our object.
Probably for the best.
I don't think the ones after the object will. They should likely know already that they had an empty case or a case full of sand.
Everyone here should also know that he's not the, or we're not the only ones he's supplying information to, so we have to be very careful with the information we do give him because of that reason.
Maybe Nora can have a more persuasive conversation with him.
I can attempt to threaten and scare him, but it only goes so far when there's money involved. I imagine he's taking from as many as he can.
You've got that hot steaming lead that can be involved.
Yes, but it would hardly go unnoticed on a ship this far out to sea if one were to start shooting people. Unfortunately.
I think before we exhaust that alternative, we would probably want to have Wright use his particular set of persuasion to maybe kind of steer the conversation with Mr. Hughes in the way we want, rather than maybe brute force it. But I don't decline to that alternative.
And
I do think that in this particular situation, we may get more with honey than with violence. It's a strange thing to admit, but I suppose it's because I'm so used to working by myself. I haven't really had the option.
And with him, since we know he's giving information to everyone, we can sort of control at least what they get from him by what we tell him.
Yes. And I think that's kind of where our conversation ended with Mr. Hughes. And where we were with the object, whether or not that was we were going to continue to stir the pot, I guess you would say, as far as maybe putting out another decoy or diversion to their attention, maybe keep them from suspecting there's something else. I'm not sure. I guess that's open to discussion.
We had
My
floated that we had failed and our income was going to be a portion of what it would have been if we had succeeded to get the object to shore. So we were moving over to barter instead of the regular cash payments. But we were still interested in bringing the culprits to justice, for if for nothing else, for our own honor.
I do fear that if they've realized they've failed a couple times now, they may start getting a bit more direct in their attempts to retrieve.
I
there's
definitely think
yes.
that an attempt directly at our rooms is certainly on the table now.
And I, one thing I'm worried about is any direct confrontation with them. We still don't know what caused that damage to that door. And if it was one of the creatures, then I do not want to be in close quarters with one of those.
Taking a look
That's
at
where the bullets come in.
The ones that you guys encountered, they weren't obviously stronger than the average person, were they?
No, Ron, take a look at these pictures here. These are the hybrid people that we've been. I think those are the weaker ones.
Okay, and you said there's a step
They
up
commit
from.
themselves. Yes.
Okay.
They want to be. They want to be them. So they get partial abilities, not full, because they wouldn't give them, I'm assuming, full abilities right now if they are unloyal to their cause. So they need to earn their gills, I guess one could say, their fins.
Well, I'd definitely not want to meet the full-fledged one of these things, if that is
Nor would
indeed
I.
what caused the damage to the door.
That's why I feel this book that Mrs. Hastings has could lead to more insight, or whether or not she can read Greek. But looking at these pictures, is there any markings on the hybrid things that are distinct in this book that I have?
Markings.
Like not markings, not like symbols, not like that. I mean, like webbed feet, webbed hands, or gills, or fins coming out of their head.
So I mean, in terms of the pictures in the book, there are deep ones who are shown in some of the illustrations. These are obviously mentioned, like these are supposedly Atlantean illustrations that are somewhat stylized, but it shows humans mingling with these fish peoples that appear to be in various states of transformation from human into fully fish man.
Is there anything distinct on these humans that would help us keep a lookout?
So like the more transformed ones are much more significantly different. Long, spindly legs and arms, clearly webbed feet and hands, bulbous black eyes, scaly skin from head to toe. Lean physique made for swimming. They seem very clearly different from humans, despite having humanoid form. In terms of ones that are partially transformed, these vary from being like slightly downturned mouth and pallor skin. And slightly bulbous eyes to the ones that you've already seen that we have photos of that are being developed, being further along with scales appearing in place of skin in places on their body, significantly downturned mouth, eyes protruding much more significantly, loss of hair, and very, very pallid skin.
Okay, so we've got something to start keeping an eye out on. The other question I wanted to ask as well was, being an older ship, are there floorboards? Wooden floorboards.
No, it is not a wooden ship. There may be wood flooring, but it is not wood flooring that is over like a place that you could store something in the nicer areas.
Okay,
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we're gonna go with decision. Like, I don't know whether that'd be something even easy to figure out. Like, did they have like floorboards with underneath areas on ships to run wiring? I don't think so. Like, this is a steam ship that's made out of steel.
yeah, yeah, I was just curious because I might be able to pry up one of the boards in the rooms to be able to then perhaps if we can find something big enough to hide the box in it.
No, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way you'd be finding a place to hide a box. That's for sure. Hold on, we can go back over to the photos of private areas. Boop.
Like it's wood floors.
Yeah,
In
I mean,
the-
so
in
they
the-
are
in
wood
the cheap
floors,
rooms.
but like I don't think there would be like any significant amount of space underneath the wood floors.
I wouldn't say so. Is that a fireplace? Are we in one of those rooms?
No fireplaces.
We're in the room at the top right, I'm guessing. Top left and top right.
Sorry.
We're in the rooms at the top left and right, aren't we?
Yes,
Not the
those
top-
would be more the
top-
style of the rooms that you are in. Those are like first class rooms. The one bottom right is like a much fancier room, which basically
Captain's
like
room.
the captain and Mrs. Hastings has managed to acquire for herself. And then yeah, the bottom left is steerage.
Okay.
Well, what you guys gonna do?
What time is lunch with Mrs. Hastings and who is going?
It's after lunch that she wants to meet in the library, and it was Brady and Wright who had met with her, but you had not exactly specifically necessarily established who was or was not going.
Yeah, Nora is volunteering to watch the box, partially because I am getting over a cold and tired and feel crappy. So if I have to leave, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Emily's feeling sick now. Everybody's getting sick. I was already sick last week, and now she's sick again. You guys just need to kind of divide and conquer, I suppose.
I suppose it probably should be me and Watts to go see Miss Hastings.
Do we have any good liars?
Well, that fast talk.
Yeah, fast talk would be a lying ability, I would say.
Because if we were gonna work that angle into our conversation with Cuthbert, if we're still doing that, could start a parlay under the premise that we want the box back, and if there's any negotiating to be done.
I'm only a 50-50, just lower than a 50-50. As in, I'm a 55.
That's a lot better than my 5.
You're an honest man.
No, mine's in charm.
Yeah, all mine's in charm as well.
It's a fast talker, isn't she?
Charmingly lie.
Nora's the fast talker, but man.
She's also incredibly observant, so it'd be kind of high risk.
That's something we could, I guess, table for maybe another session.
So
Yeah, you have a handful of different things that all need to be followed up on. We've got it's kind of shocking how little actual game time we're getting through on a session basis. Um,
I would
uh,
I would say that as counterintuitive as it seems, if we're giving off the impression that the cargo's been taken, it would make sense to make the cargo not be in our rooms anymore. Uh, and it could almost make sense to move it to somewhere that they've already broken into, whether that's the Bursar's area, their purview, or back into the captain's quarters, with the assumption they wouldn't try and rob the same place twice.
agree. Just having the box out of sight is the high risk.
We'll definitely want to do it at a time we wouldn't be noticed, though.
We can order room service, put it on the box trolley, push away.
We'll make it harder to actually keep an eye on it.
Oh yeah, but I think it's at this point it seems like muscle is not gonna save us if they actually find the location to be breaking into, since they already hit the most secure location and the second most secure location.
Captain did say we could use his quarters until he was ready to move back in.
Suppose one of us can just stay with it there once we've transferred it.
We would cleared off that gloop.
Yes.
Anyway, Mrs. Hastings will be waiting for us soon. Should we head out? We need to set another trap.
I could work on that.
Good man, Roy.
so you got Brady and Watts to Mrs. Hastings. Of other things, if we're going to wait to talk to Miss Cuthbert, you have the bursar and the captain, and I suppose those are the two main things. Potentially going and talking to Flinders to see if you can engage his help with setting some kind of trap or getting him to do something useful.
Feeding the wrong information. Yeah.
Should perhaps try and catch Miss Green by herself if she's not with Miss Hastings. See why she was so concerned. Somebody charming, perhaps, could be nice and get something out of
That's a
her.
good point. Miss Green now is a secondary person you could potentially try and talk to.
So with the trap, we had said possibly putting it in the room in the middle, and then everyone else sleep in the other two rooms. Is that still the plan? Because if they
He's on the fence. Oh no!
what was that?
Yeah. I'm fine with that as long as everyone else is.
Well, I don't think we should move the box in the middle of the day in any regard.
Agreed.
Well, I can work on the trap wherever the box is, and then we can move it later at some point.
Perhaps we should go ahead and arrange some sort of more damaging trap at this point.
Yes, that was
We
the
all
idea.
agree that none of us will open the box and ensure that whatever this trap is will damage someone if they don't know how to do so. That at least should give us some advantage.
And if it's in the middle, we can then converge, and then they really only have one exit.
Hopefully. Nora will start pulling out all of the boxes of ammo she's stashed in various places throughout the room. She'll be like, do let me know if any of this will help.
Well, basically the idea was just to scale up the gunpowder explosion to, instead of being like a flashbang, to actually,
Main.
yeah. So just a lot more powder. Would I need to do a roll for that? Setting up that trap?
No, I mean I feel like that's in your expertise. Unless you're trying to do something like special and next level, I think you could rig that up.
So basically the same mechanism that we had before, just a lot more gunpowder.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Exactly. Yeah, like it's just like you'd basically be doing the same thing. Sorry, so you're gonna do this to the room or to the box in the room?
To the box.
So the actual official box also now is gonna explode.
No, I think we have one
You
more.
do have another extra box.
Yeah, we had 4, and 2 have been
Okay.
taken.
Right. All right. Yes. All right. Agreed. Yes, you could do that.
Okay. So I'll spend however long that takes getting that set up.
Yeah. So, 30 minutes as you're getting up to lunchtime.
And if one of them would give me the room key, I'll go in that room, not moving the box just yet, but then, like, is there a lock on the windows?
The windows do not lock; they latch on the inside. So essentially, yes, the windows would be like unopenable from outside if they're latched.
Would there be a way I could put, like, a lock on the latch?
I would loosely say no. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't really think so. It'd be like a little thing that like holds in place
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
ratchets closed. Like, not without like some, full modification of it with like probably tools beyond what's in your kit.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a way to bar the window, just so there's only one exit, just the door.
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
To try to make sure that there is only one exit, that the only way they can get out is the way they came in.
Yes, I mean, and that the window is pretty small. Like if you look at this picture here, like you couldn't fit through it as a person. You could stick your head out, but like that's about it. And like the box would not fit out the window either.
Okay.
It's a portal.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit smaller than I was
the
thinking.
level above you has larger windows, but your level does not.
Okay. And then I'll set up the beds to kind of look like somebody's in each of them.
Sure. Well, do you guys want to do potentially speaking to the bursar? Because that'll be quicker before we take a break. Since Mrs. Hastings will presumably be a little bit longer of a thing to do.
Yeah, let's do that.
Who's going to the bursar? We got Brady and Watts are due to go to Mrs. Hastings.
What were we talking to the bursar about?
Getting
Bursar promised, to review the crew manifest to see if there's anybody who seems suspicious or unusual, like in terms of people that they had brought on board as recent hires.
Okay.
on top of that, we were throwing first-hand witness at him for the events of the other night. help
Yeah,
prop up his trust.
let Hughes know. Let him know that Hughes knows about it.
And we could also ask him if he knows if he has seen the captain, seen how he's doing today.
So I guess would that then be Draper and Wright going off to do this?
Sure.
Could do.
Brady and Watts are off to Hastings. Well, say the word. Are you guys ready? Yes? No?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
So as you're approaching lunch, if you choose to do so, you can stop off and quickly grab a bite to eat. I will say that's up to you. It doesn't really matter too much in terms of the timeline of things. And that you can then spend a little bit of time probably searching around the ship, asking crew as to the location of the bursar, because he has many different things to attend to. It'll take you a little bit of time, but you do manage to track the bursar down. He is attending to the mess hall on the steerage deck, discussing the current supplies with the cooks there. Entering, you find it's a large mess hall that has like a decent sized kitchen to be able to produce the quantity of food required for this journey. And you see him standing there speaking with two of the cooks. The mess hall obviously having just wrapped up lunch service with some people still eating, but they're finishing up with serving.
Just scoop up a coffee and something handheld like a croissant.
You're able to find a pastry of some kind and some coffee, which is certainly still available for this lunch food service. And yeah, heading over, you are able to easily gain his attention as he's finishing up discussing with the cooks the required provisions for the next few days. And he turns around and says, it's like, I suppose you're here to ask about my review of the crew manifest.
Your assumption's correct.
Well, here is not the place to discuss it. Follow me, and we'll head back up to my room above. He leads you out of the mess hall and up out of steerage, taking you to a small individual room that he has on the second level up that has a small desk for where he manages his day-to-day bookkeeping for the boat. Sitting down, he beckons you over to the seat beside him and opens a book that appears to be a ledger of the different names of the crew manifest. Says, it's like, well, I spent some time last night going through it, and there weren't, and as I said before, most of the people who are serving upon the boat have been with us for some time, but we always pick up a few new people at each stop, as we lose a few who are setting off for vacation or other positions. If you look through here, you'll see some of the new names down at the bottom. There are 4 that stood out to me. These each came with, I suppose the loosest of recommendations. None of them are in particularly important positions, but if there's anywhere for you to start, it would be these. We have a cook for steerage class, a fellow named Dilek Kaplan. Then there's also a cook that has been hired for the first class, Mark Markopoulos. It seems that he did come with decent recommendations, but they're not from our usual sources. Served on another boat that came in from traveling from Italy only a few days before, and he was hired quickly. There's a steward who serves on the first class decks. A woman named Dolores Talbot, and finally another steward on the first class deck, a man named Mehmed Demir. Really, I can't tell you too much about any of these. They came through the service that we used Our offices check them out, but I personally can't vouch for them. Whereas usually the people that we hire, I have a little bit more time to sign off on. But there's always a few last minute placements as we fill in the final vacancies before we set sail.
This is much appreciated. It'll help us a lot in our investigations. And of course, be wary of any of the crew that don't seem themselves, and always be on the lookout for crewmen that aren't recognized, since we know that crewman attire has been dispersed somehow.
Indeed, that did lend credence to your concern that there are either crewmen who have been compromised or people who are masquerading as crewmen. I can't say that I've had any credible reports of fake crewmen that have shown up. I suppose with the exception of the one, strange fish person who was dressed in one of their outfits that you had the altercation with the other night. But I can't say that was one of the ones that was stolen, considering the state of it. But that I can't. But whether that was the result of the fight or it was actually already in that state, I certainly can't say.
Speaking of which, we have a first-hand witness of the altercation last night that you could talk to if you want additional information. Mr. Hughes on the lower deck.
Hughes, that's a loud fellow. I've certainly heard of him from the crew. He's been, making friends with gay abandon. It seems that he's quite the character.
That he
say
is.
he somehow saw what happened on the deck last night. Shouldn't he have been below decks where he belongs?
Of course, but as you know, making friends tends to lead you in all kinds of places and interesting scenarios. He witnessed the two individuals we already told you to look out for carrying the crate from the captain's room and dumped it overboard.
Dumped it overboard, you say? That's very strange. Why would they go to all the effort of stealing the thing if they were just going to dump it?
That I can't say. They seemed quite perturbed about it as well, apparently.
Well, that's then there's something doubly strange afoot if that was what they chose to do, and we're none too happy about it. But if the item is gone, then maybe we have nothing more to worry about. That being said, I would certainly like to catch whoever is infiltrated, either the crew or the passengers.
Of course, it would help us if we were able to catch any individuals involved as well, restore some of our credibility.
Understandably, I can't imagine you're too thrilled with having lost the artifact in your charge, or the case in your charge. It's a black spot on our own record, considering the captain was entrusted with it and apparently fell victim to some sort of strange ruse.
But at least now, hopefully, with if Hughes's testimony is true, we have confirmed at least two of the people who infiltrated his quarters, the captain's quarters.
Indeed, we'll have to round them up and keep them under lock and key. But steerage is obviously quite busy. It's easy for it seems for people to get lost in the crowd down there, at least in comparison to the first class complement. That said, it's a small ship. There's only a few hundred people on board. we'll be able to find them soon enough. But first, I'll confirm with Hughes the description of the people that he saw and see if it matches your own.
I also wanted to ask if you had managed to check in with the captain today, and do you have any update on his condition?
I have not. I've been busy this morning. We definitely we left the captain to sleep off whatever his experience had done to him. Though maybe the first mate has had a chance to check in with him. You could ask or go check on the captain yourself. I presume he's still in the first mate's quarters.
We may do just that. Thank you for your help.
Indeed. Well, let me know, of course, if you find anything suspicious about my crew or the passengers on board that's meaningful. If I can confirm with Hughes, we'll do our best to see that these two fellows that are, well, at the very least suspicious, are kept confined for the remainder of the voyage.
We do appreciate your trust in this matter, and you can, of course, rely on us in the future.
Be careful when you're out on deck. It seems the storm is only worsening. As he says that, you can hear a groan as the boat heaves suddenly hard to the other side, and he grabs on to hold on. Give me dexterity rolls. Mr. Draper, you hold on in this sudden heave as the boat tips to one side, while Mr. Wright, you go tumbling out of the chair that you were sitting on, sprawling across the floor. As the ship rights itself once more, the bursar reaches a hand down to grasp you and pull you back to your feet. Says, exactly what I meant. It seems that these seas are only getting rougher, and we're not out of the storm yet.
Wright looks more annoyed than concerned as he dusts off his new shiny jacket.
I'll ask about the storm. Is this storm out of the ordinary for these waters?
In the summer, no. We would certainly see a few tropical storms crossing the Atlantic each year, maybe one or two. But the winter, this is highly unusual, particularly how far north we've come. I can't recall more than once or twice in all my years hitting such a strong storm during these cold winter months.
Okay.
Unusual, but not impossible. Well, that's some mild recourse, I guess.
And this boat has fared worse many times before, as I mentioned. It's not like we've shut down for the summer months. We've been through our fair share of rough waters. You can trust the crew. Many of them have been with us a long time, as I had said, so they know well how to pull us through. I do feel for the passengers, though. I'm sure we'll see fewer and fewer coming out of their quarters. The crew will probably have, or the stewards will probably have to start delivering food on a more frequent basis and emptying bedpans to ensure their comfort.
Already seems to be the case, judging from this morning's head count.
Not surprised, based on speaking with the cooks. We haven't been getting through the food at quite the rate we expected.
We'll be
If
in
there's
touch.
nothing more, yes, I was going to say, well, if there's nothing more, then I'll see you on your way, and I'll be asking for one of the crew members to round up Hughes and bring him up here before too long. Yes, we'll be in touch as soon as I've heard more, and I expect the same from you.
Of course. Thank you for your time.
9:20. Let's take a very brief break. I could use a pee after drinking all that water, and we'll come back for Mr. Brady and Mr. Watts talking to Mrs. Hastings. Welcome back. We are going into the other side of what's going on in the midday on Friday, February 9th, 1923. Rough seas about a third of the way across the Atlantic. Mr. Brady and Mr. Watts, you go presumably to have some lunch before heading off to the library to find Mrs. Hastings.
Yes. Grab some lunch. Saw in the chat last week somebody mentioned surf and turf. Like, what was up with that?
Oh, eating a fish man.
Oh, gross.
Is
What
it
is the
seafood? Is it
hybrids?
meat? Is it cannibalism? Who knows?
Fair point.
All of the above. Depends on how far along in the process they are. Geez, that's a grizzly. All right, so presumably you will pop down for a quick lunch. There continues to be relatively low turnout to the lunch service, and you do see some stewards carrying trays of food off to the first class quarters to deliver them in person. They obviously are having difficulty doing so as the boat is seesawing from side to side. The crew obviously fairly familiar with this, but you do see a few passengers take a tumble when they're not ready for it, and people are walking bow-legged to try and ensure their balance. Heading off
Brady.
I don't actually have a thing for a library here. Heading off to the rear of the first class area, there is a small library. The library essentially is made up of a few seats and one desk, one writing desk, and two or three shelves of books of fairly pedestrian, fiction and some light nonfiction reference books. Kind of the usual things that might be crowd pleasers in terms of passengers wanting to pick something up to read on the journey. You enter the room and find Mrs. Hastings poring over the tome set up in front of her, various papers with scribbles and scrawlings on them, notes and so on, all around her on this small writing desk. As you enter, she does not look up, deep in thought.
I'll approach the desk and just like take a peek over. Is there anything I can see that I could just impress her with by saying, "Oh, that is the blah blah blah"?
Peeking over her shoulder, I guess give me a luck roll to do it at like a real quick glance. All right, and then give me an occult roll.
What call? It's been so long. Here you are.
Glancing over her shoulder, you see a series of concentric rings with several rings placed around them with certain symbols noted in them. You recognize this from the book that you found only in your dreams last night. In the book that you were looking at, it closely resembles a plan of the city of Atlantis.
You look to be looking at the plan of Atlantis, it seems, the city.
She, with a start, looks up and says, "Mr. Watts, Mr. Draper, Mr. Brady." I got mixed up. I read what I said on the screen as opposed to what I meant to say in my head. Sorry, Mr. Brady. It's good of you to join me. What do you mean, plan of Atlantis?
What you're looking at here, these circles, it clearly indicates that this is the markings of the plan of the city of Atlantis.
So you say. How would you even know what a plan of the city of Atlantis looks like? This is, well, something completely different from my own studies.
What did you think it was?
Tell me, Mr. Watts, Mr. Brady, do you know much of runic casting circles?
I know a little bit, I'm pretty sure, with my game knowledge.
You do, yes.
Yes, I do.
Both of you,
And-
I would say, from your studies.
Yeah. I wouldn't say in a traditional sense, but I guess you could say I know a little bit about it.
He's like, well, I've been working to decipher the information in this book. It's why I called you here for, well, I need some skilled help in what I hope to undertake. Uh, it seems that I was correct in believing that the Cathat Aquadigin does include instructions for casting a spell that allows us to speak with the children of the sea.
People of the deep. We've would love to help. By chance, can you read Greek, Mrs. Hastings? And by all means, you can call me Thomas.
Ah, Thomas, so familiar. I'm not sure what Mr. Hastings would say. Anyway, we won't worry about him. He's many miles away. Any Greek, you say? Well, I don't know how to speak modern Greek, but I can seem to read. I do have the ability to read some ancient Greek. I'm a little rusty, but I studied it back in boarding school.
That will prove to
Wow.
be pretty useful to Mr. Watts here.
Indeed, it would, Mrs. Hastings. If you look here, you asked me how I came to know that this is the layout of Atlantis, potentially. I have a book in my possession. Yeah, how I got this, that's for another time, perhaps. But here, and I show her it references your people of the deep as well, and I'll show her the book.
She puts her pince nez back on her face from her breast pocket. Do you know what a pince nez is?
Is it the thing that holds two glasses? Like a pair of
So
glasses?
no, it literally translates to pinched nose. It is the glasses that have no things on them. They literally it pinches your nose and sits there as two
Oh.
very small spectacles,
Wow.
Very cool.
which is also historically accurate from my knowledge.
Oh, is Mr.
Anyway.
Cox or Miss Green in here at all? Is it just us?
It is just you. She looks in at the small script upon the book and says, "Why, Mr. Watts? Where did you find such a thing? I've never seen a book such as this. And you are quite correct. It does appear to be written in ancient Greek. As I mentioned, I'm no expert, but I may be able to make some headway in translating it."
Well, Mrs. Hastings, you believe in the ritual casting circles, and you believe that they're true and they exist, and there's strange things in this world.
Indeed, I've never been one to. I've never seen or experienced magic myself that I can confirm, but that doesn't mean that I think that it's impossible. I've had some strange experiences in my travels, and well, I only wish to learn more about what there is out there.
I will warn caution to the children of the deep are not as friendly as you think. But if you look at this object I have here, this egg, this can teleport one's conscious, I guess, whilst I'm dreaming, to somewhere completely different, where I seem to find this book in a library, and when I was holding it and I woke up, it happened to be in my possessions here on the boat. I know it sounds crazy and wild, and you probably think I'm insane and should be admitted to an asylum, but I assure you I'm telling the truth.
She squints at you for a moment and says, "Well, if this book was not sitting in front of me, I'd call you a madman. Mr. Brady, what do you make of this? You are a more scholarly sort than this fellow here. Do you believe his tales?"
I typically steer clear of anything that seems out of the realm of, um,
Sad.
let's say, realistic. But since my journey began with Mr. Watts, I've been having to completely reconcile with what's happened versus what I know to be true, and I can definitely vouch for Mr. Watts here. I've also had a particular incident with this artifact he has, the egg, and I've also had my own kind of premonitions, if you want to call them that, and I would definitely hear him out and trust what he says.
This is why I found it imperative that I spoke with you, Mrs. Hastings, and helped you study your book that you have, help learn more about these people and what their intent is.
Well, that is exactly why I brought you here. And, well, whatever your warnings, I can't see what the harm is of speaking with these creatures. They've been living beneath the ocean for millennia. And well, if the people who wrote this book are any indication, they've certainly had some friendly relations with humanity in the past. Why they have retreated down below the waves and refused to engage further, I can't say, but, well, I intend to find out. Ideally, with your help.
Well, any help that I can give, I will. But I will tell you that I believe that their deity is the reason why they've retreated, and the intent of this deity is ill manner towards the people above.
Deity, is it? Do you have a name for it?
I do. It is written in my notes here. It is Dagon, Mother Hydra.
The book seems to indicate that they are two different beings.
Yes.
Dagon and Mother Hydra are two sides of the same coin. Possibly sisters?
That would make sense. But we have, I have encountered the fish people on deck here on our journey thus far. Surely you've heard the stories of other passengers seeing these things.
She gasps and says, "No, you've seen them on deck already, but I've been trying to to prepare the spell to contact them, and they're here among us. How can you
They are
say
here.
such a thing, Mister Watts? How would I have missed such excitement?"
Because perhaps your paid guards, Mr. Cox and Miss Green, are doing their job very well and keeping you shielded and protected. So good for them.
Like Miss Green, most likely, yes. Cox, well, he does whatever it is that I command him. In that regard, actually, he is currently employed to obtain the reagents that I need for the spell that I intend to attempt to cast tonight.
I did
What are
see
the-
him. Go ahead.
Okay. No, you please, Mr. Brady. Yeah.
I did see him scurrying about to the lower decks. I believe maybe yesterday. Is that something that he was doing at that point in time?
Most likely, yes, indeed. I seem to be in need of a live fish and salt. A lot of salt.
You not just use the salt that is currently around us in the water.
Well, if I could part it from the water, that would be magic indeed, Mr. Watts. You are a joker.
The captain did tell us not to use these spells. And how crazy would it be for you to believe that there is a fishman that we at that perhaps died. We have access to.
Died? How could such a thing happen to such a gentle beast? Did he get caught in some kind of trap on the deck?
You could say that. I would encourage you to maybe rethink you're trying to speak to the fish people. What would you do if you conjure them? I mean, what are you going to do when you do see them? If you conjure them and they appear, what were your intentions?
Like, well, I intend to unlock the mysteries of the deep, find out what way we can broach a new peace between our peoples, see if there is not more that we can learn about our own past from them. And truly, Mr. Brady, I don't think there is too much danger in simply speaking with them. If they're already among us, there's no harm in reaching out and trying to extend an olive branch.
That presupposes that they're willing to do the same thing. Do you believe they're of the same mind?
I do not.
Possibly not, but if there's any way that's most safe to find out, it would be with a spell of communication rather than trying to confront them physically.
Well, I've heard them speak, so they're able to speak to us if they chose to.
And these were full-fledged fish people that were among us, long and spindly of leg and arm, with full scaly exterior.
I believe so, right, Mike? They were the ones.
They were not. They were hybrids. They were people who were starting to turn into fish.
Not quite, and I'll point to my book saying, more at that stage.
Well, who knows what could beset the minds of the hybrid deep ones. From what little I have learned, the process of becoming one of their noble kind drives many a man mad.
Perhaps, but they gave me very harsh warnings of what their intent is. They're after an artifact, you see. And I do believe they succeeded in getting it.
Oh, they couldn't. The book remains in my possession. There's no way that they got it. See, it is literally right here in front of me.
Do you mind? I'll take a look at the book.
She says, like, by all means, please.
I'll just peruse it. We'll let Brady do some talking.
Yeah, the book, yeah, like it has a bunch of texts and in various ancient script. Notably, also, it appears to be ancient Greek, but something that looks to be potentially also various notes in some kind of ancient Arabic script.
Anything alien?
Yes, I'd say looking through it, there are occasional places where there is Arlean notations upon the pictures, diagrams.
Okay, so I'll point those out to her as I'm finding them. Have you heard of the island of Mu before?
Mu, you say? I think there was something that might loosely translate like that was included within the book. The pronunciation would be a little bit different, but I could see that being what you refer to.
Can you point it out? And then is there any correlation between Atlantis and this thing?
You point to a few passages in the book that relate information. It does not seem to correlate with Atlantis.
Okay. What you said that your current ingredients, so it's fish and salt. Is there any other ingredients or objects you need for this summoning spell, language spell? And are you sure it's just for communication and it's not going to ultimately turn you into one of these creatures?
Certainly not. As far as I can tell from my translations, it is a spell of communication first and foremost. it reaches out and makes contact with the true deep ones below the seas, the children of the sea. In terms of the reagents required, the live fish is a token that you mean them no harm, while the salt is required for the construction of the circle. Otherwise, 3 people are required at the points of the points you see here. She flips back in the book, taking it from your hand, showing you the circular outlay with a circle in a triangle formation. All 3 chanting in unison. The notation down below, which I can teach you in the ancient Greek. That is how we open the lines of communication.
And will they be speaking ancient Greek back to us, or will they be speaking a language we can understand?
Oh, that'll stand just to be found out. But I can only imagine that they may well speak multiple languages, given their long lifespan and the fact that they remain in some level of contact with the land above. Judging by what you've described here, that they've apparently appeared up on the boat, I can only assume that they might have some knowledge of modern language.
Right you are, Mrs. Hastings. Right you are. I do have some familiarity with magic and casting, so if you'd like for me to be one of the tips on the triangle, I will happily volunteer myself to do that. When I'm looking into it, do I know that it would be safe, like occult-wise, that it's not going to blow me up or sacrifice me?
You could make a basically you could make an occult roll, which will be less accurate than if you make a mythos roll. A mythos roll would give you a success on a basic or some base level success on a mythos roll would be, I would say, kind of equivalent to like like a hard extreme like occult roll on this.
Yeah, I'm about to roll a 73 though. That's what I was wondering. I'll go for mythos.
Well, wouldn't have mattered either way.
Yeah.
79.
Well, if I got a cult, I would have got it by 1, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not enough information.
Yeah, basically, you can't draw any strong conclusion. It would require. She obviously has taken quite a bit of time to study this book, and you would require something similar to really be able to fully understand whether the conclusions that she has drawn are in fact true and reliable.
Okay. But yes, I'm willing to help you if you'd like.
Excellent. And you, Mr. Brady, could I rely upon your help as well?
Yeah, I'm always willing to help. I don't pretend to know, or I don't pretend that I know really too much about the occult or spells of that matter. But I am willing to help where I can. But based on your experience with spell casting and these kinds of matters, how far back does it go for you? How long have you been doing this? How long have you been experiencing these things?
I've been interested in it since my days at boarding school, when I had access to the archives in the school that I attended. I was always interested in delving into history and the occult whenever possible. And well, since becoming a married woman, the wealth and leisure that is afforded to me in my position has allowed me to fully indulge upon in my in this pastime. With that said, as I mentioned, I have never casted a spell or been 100% certain that I have seen magic in action. I have merely experienced unusual situations and been continuing my studies. Anything that I have tried in the past has failed miserably. I honestly do not expect that what we will be attempting tonight will be successful. But I am determined to do so and see whether or not I can establish this connection that this book describes. I think it is the best chance of success I have ever had before.
I believe if you believe, and we've got all the right components and the incantations are correct, it will very much succeed. And I do recommend that if we were to cast this spell in our next session, Miss Baker would be beneficial to have in our presence.
Miss Baker did seem quite enthused with her experiences of the occult. She would be invaluable to have. It would be useful to have some muscle on hand just in case the spell goes awry. Not that I expect anything wrong with it, mind you, but if their physical presence has already been seen on deck, who knows if we might find them among us if they are already here upon the boat. We may be talking to somebody far closer than we expect.
Perhaps indeed. But I'm telling you, they have been searching for something, and as I say, I believe they found it. But our lockup, where all our possessions are, was ripped open by a being. By one of these beings. One of my acquaintances was knocked out, and as he heard some incantations and what was it, humming, I guess, that he'd heard, Flinders.
She says, well, if we are going to be doing this, yes, I do accept that there is some danger, but first and foremost, we must stop the spoiling factor. My damnable assistant, Miss Green, who my husband has put up to the task of keeping me safe. Anyway, she seems to have caught wind of my interest here. If you happen to run into her, she must be assured that whatever we are doing this evening, it is merely something benign. Further study. Maybe we are playing craps or bridge. I don't know. Whatever ladies of my type tend to do in the evening with eligible young men. Never mind. I mean, whatever ladies of my station tend to do in the company of many others upon a boat voyage across the sea. Whatever it is, she must be kept busy.
We do have a charmer in our group that might be able to spend some time with her.
Indeed,
Another one
she
you're
is an
thinking
eligible
of.
young lady, and she would very much benefit from some sort of companionship, even for the evening. And I'm sure it would keep her more than busy.
If you're able to trick her into going into a room, I also know somebody with a other particular set of skills that could perhaps make it so the lock doesn't quite open. So,
Mr. Watts, scandalous. Locking her in a room. I couldn't imagine anything more hair-raising. It sounds like a plan.
I'll discuss with the group and see what they think is best.
Either way, as long as she is not able to interrupt our plans for the evening, my goal was to either use the upper deck if the rain lets up, otherwise to descend down into the hold and use the base of the ship there, where there's some space upon the floor.
The hold, I think, would be best.
Indeed, she looks out towards the porthole and says, "It does not seem that this boat will be getting out of the storm anytime soon." And as she says that, once again, with a crack of lightning, the boat suddenly changes its lean and starts leaning to the rapidly leaning to the other side. She is sitting down, but you are standing near her. So give me dexterity rolls. Mr. Watts, you grab onto one of the bookshelves and manage to stable yourself. While Mr. Brady, you reach out similarly, but don't quite grasp it as you lose your footing and fall flat on your bum as the boat leans over, rolling backwards briefly and settling by the door. Mrs. Hastings says, "Mr. Brady, are you all right, sir?"
Probably still feeling some pain from my ribs and just the pain from slamming down on my rear. I'm gonna just kind of, cry out a little bit in pain, and then I'm gonna try and raise myself back up, standing, and kind of dust myself off. Oh, I should be fine. That was a
Good, you
bit
appear to be
unexpected.
Indeed, the ocean has been fickle these last couple of days. I can only hope we'll find our way out of the storm soon.
Is there any, before we head out, is there any, not, not similarities, but is there any conclusions I can draw between matching the two books, in one in my possession and the one in her possession? Is there any distinct information that I have an aha moment about when I look at them both?
There's obviously the Atlantean connection, which you've already drawn. I would say beyond that, you would have to actually spend hours, maybe days, in study of both books, which you have not had an opportunity to do so.
I will say, Mrs. Hastings, that if we are successful in casting this communication spell, that's for our remaining days on this voyage, you allow me access to study this information as you have been studying, and vice versa. I will share these trinkets that I have shown you today. Please.
Sorry, repeat that.
Just asking her basically if over the next days of our voyage, if I can spend time studying the book, her book, as well as my
Oh,
book.
sorry, her book. She'll say, it's like, well, if we're successful in our spell, then absolutely. Depending on the outcome, I may wish to be spending more time with it in the immediate future, but that's something to be discussed once the night is through.
To find out what their true intent is.
Indeed, we'll have to see what's in store for us, and well, with any luck, we'll be able to broker some sort of peace and understanding, usher in a new era of communication between our peoples.
By chance, Mrs. Hastings, does it tell you how to stop? Let's say for self-defense reasons, if one of these true fish people were to attack.
As in, do they have any weaknesses or ways in which that they can be assaulted?
Slowed down, perhaps. I.e., stopped. Yes.
Well, the fully transformed children of the deep, children of the seas, they are extremely strong and nimble. They need to be so for traversing the fathoms that lie down below. And by a similar token, they also obviously rarely come up if they can help it, because they're much more at home beneath the waves. They live for many centuries, unlike our own frail bodies. If there was a way to stop them, it's not written here. They are strong and agile, hardy beings. But they, as far as I know, they remain humanoid in form, kins to us. So presumably, their heart and their mind remain weak points. I certainly hope nothing comes to that. The hybrid ones, well, the madness that it costs them and their transformation process may be their weakest point.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. stay safe, Mrs. Hastings. What time would you like us to arrive?
Well, I am
Are we-
hoping that we can start by 9 or 10 p.m. It depends on when I am able to free myself from Miss Green. She is currently seeing to my laundry and other womanly needs, but she will be back in no time to check on me, I'm sure.
Okay. We'll come to your door. We'll do a special knock, and it'll be this one. Duh, 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 duh.
Shave and a
When you hear
haircut, excellent.
When you hear that, you know that's us, and it's safe to come out. And Miss Green is otherwise occupied.
Well, it sounds like a good plan. Once I am done here in the library, I will sequester myself after dinner in my room, and I will await your arrival so that we can make our way down. I will inform Cox that the reagents should be placed down within the hold, and he will ensure that we are escorted down there once we are ready.
Brilliant. And would you like to keep hold of my book until we meet again, or do you not feel there's a need?
I would be happy to take a close look at it, but in the short term, I am deciphering a few more things that I can about the spell to be cast, just in case there's anything I have missed. But in the days to come, I'd be happy to trade off and spend some time with the book that you have found here. It truly interests me, and obviously, if you are unable to read what is written here, maybe it is for as my opportunity to help you, like you will be helping me this evening.
Very much so. Well, I appreciate your time, Mrs. Hastings. We will not take too much more of it up, and I'm sure Miss Baker will be more than happy to see you again.
Absolutely. I look forward to her company as well. Please give her my best.
I'll get up and take my stuff and head out with Mr. Brady if he's following as well.
Yeah, is there anything
Yes.
else you want to add, Mr. Brady?
I'm gonna reserve anything else for later.
By
And I'll
chance, did you do
just- I'll just-
psychology rolls on her to see if she's telling the truth and is innocent or shady or? Did you notice anything?
I'm gonna do a spot hidden and check to see if I see anything that might kind of stand out, like maybe in a coat pocket or maybe something that maybe catches my eye that's maybe a little off. If that's a thing I can do before leaving.
So you want to see what?
Well, I didn't know like if I could just look kind of scanning her person, maybe the item she has on her person, maybe whatever she's studying. If there's something that just seems like it might be like
Yeah, just
slightly
like a general
concealed.
check.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could give like a just a generic
Nope.
spot hidden or
Yeah, no particular reason, just kind of looking, kind of scanning, just to check and see if there's anything that stands out.
He
Okay.
has that strange goo that was on the captain all over her.
she has a third eye. No, yeah, I guess with that roll, you do not spot anything particularly unusual. Obviously, it's a bit of a mess upon the desk in front of her, and she has the book returned to her, as well as the second book now that she is taking a short look at, but nothing particularly stands out.
I will just tell her that I will see her later this evening and have a good rest of your day.
She smiles and nods to you two, and returns back to her study as she pulls back out her fountain pen to make a few more notes as she refers back to the page that she was on.
I think that was rather successful, Mr. Brady. What do you think?
I believe so. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, but I also don't believe that we're going to be able to get all questions answered today. So it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, agreed. Let's get back and share what we've learned with the others. I will warn you that they might not approve of us casting spells, but be prepared for that. I feel like
Yeah, I have a genuine feeling in my deep gut that this is going to be a terrible idea, but I am going forward with it.
So are you guys gonna all regroup back in the room with Nora?
Yeah.
While Nora is still awake, if you guys want to discuss your next move, you obviously have the bamboozlement of Miss Green on your pending afternoon evening radar. You have speaking with the captain. You have any further plans you have in terms of additional traps and decoys. Oh, geez, excuse me. And you have Flinders. Oh,
We're-
and of course, you now have 4 different people that the Bursar has put you onto who are potentially suspicious.
Were we gonna meet with the captain before we met up? Me and Ray. We were gonna
Yeah,
try to check
potentially
him?
you might want to do that considering the timeline. You could certainly say that you were going to do a quick captain stop before you all meet back up, which I guess timeline-wise might make sense in terms of our actual game time. That if you guys want to do that, then you guys can meet back up, have a very brief chat about what you're going to do, and then we can end up close out the game.
Yeah.
What do you guys
Sounds
prefer? Do you
good.
guys want to do a quick captain stop in before you guys meet back up?
Yeah. We can do
It's
that.
basically just like a wellness check.
Yeah.
Finding your way to the first mate's cabin, you I assume knock on the door.
Yes.
With a short knock, you do not hear any response.
Oh boy. Is the door locked?
You give it a try. The door is locked.
Is there any crew members around?
Glancing up and down the hall, oh, sorry, no. Yes, there is a crew member. He is standing outside. Who has been posted guard?
Excellent.
I'll ask. Has anyone come out of the room recently?
Says, no, sir. The captain has been sleeping in there quite soundly, as far as I know. I've heard nothing.
Do you have the key to the room? By chance?
He says, like, I think so, sir. One moment. And he pulls out a keychain and flips through it. Says, yes. Do you think the captain must be disturbed? Is there something important?
Forgive our anxiety, but after last night's events, I think it's wise to check in on him periodically, even if just to see if he's still breathing. We need not even wake him up.
I'm going to say...
Though I'm sure it would just be to check any lingering effects from the night. I'm sure you've kept anyone from going in or out, of course.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I feel like you're kind of fast-talking him. Oh, no, you only have a 5 in that. Says, sir, if the captain is not answering your knock, he may well still be fast asleep. Would you mind maybe returning within the next hour or two? As I understand it, he was not to be disturbed. He had a busy night.
Would I be able... I know he just failed. Would I be able to try to persuade?
what are you saying?
I'll say, we could come back. It's just, with the events of the night, and I mean, he's had at least 8 hours at this point to get rest. We're just concerned for his well-being and safety. Just a quick check.
Yeah, you can roll persuasion on that. He furrows his brow and says, the captain is going to come out of his own accord, I'm sure, quite soon. If he didn't respond now, I'm sure he's still quite happily asleep. Are you going to push your roll?
No, I won't. I'll just say, totally understandable, sir. We were just a little worried. We'll stop back and later if he, if we don't speak to him before.
The door cracks open and a bleary-looking eye pokes out and says, "Hello, did somebody knock?"
Ah. Captain, it's good to see you up.
Yes.
Hold on a moment. The door closes again. And you hear some rummaging around in the room and the sound of a sink. And some more rummaging around. A few minutes pass. The door opens again. And the captain, who's dressed in his pants and a white tank top, says, What is it? You just woke me.
Sorry for the intrusion. We were mostly checking to make sure you were all right. You can understand our anxiety after last night's happenings.
I suppose understandable. Tell me, is there news? The ship, it is clearly at rough seas.
The storm has taken a turn for the worse. And it does seem as though this is one of a few very rare occurrences of this kind of weather at this time of year.
Indeed, this is what I'd expect of traveling through the Caribbean in the height of summer, not a northern passage across the Atlantic in the dead of winter.
Aside from that, we've gotten a first-hand witness of two individuals who took part in breaking into your room. They dumped an object from your room overboard. It was the object we had entreated to you.
Well, I don't remember that still, but if something was stolen from my room, I am sincerely apologetic. Unusual that something would be stored with me. Was it not stored down in the safe room down in below decks?
They had already broken into the safe room below decks, thus our desperate measures.
Oh, right. You said last night. It's coming back to me slowly. But then what now? It tossed overboard, you say. So is the danger past? Have the culprits been found?
It truly doesn't make any sense. And from our witnesses' account, they seem to be confused by their order as well. But your bursar is moving to apprehend them as we speak. But
Well, that's good to know.
Having direct involvement in whatever had occurred last night, I figured you ought to know about this as well.
Indeed. I suppose, though, at this moment, my first concern is the safety of the ship. I'm needed on deck. If you'll excuse me, I will freshen up a little more and get myself dressed so that I can be presentable for the crew. They'll need their captain at the helm.
While I'm having this conversation, I'm kind of side-eyeing the guard. Uh, how does he seem to be reacting to any of this news? Does he seem especially interested in the fact that we said that the two people are about to be apprehended?
I don't know. That's more of a spot. I feel like that's like a psychology.
Damn!
Jeez.
I'm
You
gonna
have a
bump.
check mark on that yet? This campaign?
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm gonna bump two of my 26 luck
Oh,
to
geez.
push it over the edge.
Using your luck, I will say that he does seem interested. He does not seem interested in a nefarious way per se, but given the unusual goings on, he has an ear peeled out and is listening for any useful tidbits.
Uh, I'll mention to the captain and give him a pointed side look at the guard. This, of course, is uh, to be kept absolutely quiet until the arrest has been made, lest they be alerted through a third-party conversation.
Uh,
We trust in your discretion.
the captain is basically says, like I'll have to confer with the bursar and the first mate about the veracity of everything that's been going on here and what you've relayed.
Of course.
I do hope that that we've been through the worst. I have such a splitting headache, unfortunately.
We are dealing directly with the Bursar as well. If you feel the storm takes precedence, I completely understand.
Indeed, I would say that he is probably your go-to at the moment. He is much more in touch with the problems of or with any goings on between the crew um, and the passengers. Um, at the moment, the safety of the ship is my first concern. Uh, Tell me, have you had strange dreams recently?
I give a side glance to Draper.
Um, we haven't. We've just had like restless sleep with no dreams, right?
Yeah.
I'll say, no strange dreams that I can remember, at least.
Oh, my sleep. I don't feel rested. Whatever I was put through. All I can remember is temples, buildings below the water, like deep underneath. I can't remember details, but it's hazy at best. It seems that I was beset by visions of strange structures deep beneath the waves.
If you have any way to record what you remember from the dreams, we have a couple of people who are more versed in that kind of thing in our group. They may be able to shed some light on it.
Of course, it's probably just meaningless and has no bearing on our current situation. And then kind of give a side glance at the guard. But in the very small chance that there is any relevance, that is something we could help you with. We do have an expert in this kind of thing that would be able to tell if the dream had some significance.
It's probably just the rough seas playing with me, though I can't remember having such problems since I was a young CO in the war.
Uh, did uh did anyone search your room uh before you were before you slept here by any chance?
In the first mate's room, the first mate himself took me down and took me here and made sure I settled down well. Search the room? No, I can't say, but well, the first mate's been inhabiting it, so I'd certainly hope he knows full well what's in here.
Would you mind if we had a once about perhaps while you're preparing or just to be safe in case there's any kind of leaks or anything that could be disturbing your sleep?
If you could wait a few moments, let me change my shirt before you come in, and he'll gesture towards the door.
Of course.
Closing it, you hear more rustling inside, and about 5 minutes later, the captain appears, now fully dressed. In his proper dress uniform, you can more clearly see that his complexion is somewhat gaunt, his eyes a little hollow, deep bags underneath. He has not slept well, and clearly is not feeling his best. He gestures to the room and says, "Do not disturb the first mate's things, please. It is his room, not mine. He is merely lending it to me. But if you want to have a quick look around, you may have a few moments in here." He looks towards the fellow who's standing outside and says, "Keep an eye on them. Make sure that they don't get too close and personal with the first mate's things. We do want to respect his privacy."
Thank you for indulging our our anxiety here. And I'll give the room a once over. I am going to be looking in particular for like any from what I can, any evidence of anything even remotely cult-like, any kind of correspondence like we found in the captain's room with Cuthbert, that kind of thing.
Give me a spot hidden. Upon a careful review of the room, you don't spot anything that's particularly suspicious. The first mate has some pulp fiction novels, which haven't existed yet. Has some penny dreadfuls that tell tales of cowboys and Indians and other unusual tall tales, but they are pretty common. Pretty common, silly, frivolous things, not really meaningful occult coverage.
Yeah, is the window shut?
The window is definitely shut tight, and there doesn't seem to be any leaks.
Is there any way I could check if the lock on the door had been like tampered with recently?
Yeah, give me a lockpicking roll. With a careful locksmith roll, you inspect the lock very carefully, and it does not appear that it has been tampered with.
All right.
Everything seems in order here. Sorry to have wasted your time, but there's no such thing as too much caution in this kind of environment.
The crewman nods, the captain having long since left, and says, "I'll turn off the light and close up if you're done here."
Carry on.
Back to the group.
So you guys group back up. Do you guys want to have a brief discussion about your next moves with Emily missing?
Yeah, it'll be more so on everything that we did with Mrs. Hastings, the plan of the spell casting, but then the fact the need to get Mrs. Green out, and I will suggest the two ways: either charm her into a nice evening with Mr. Wright, or the sneaky way of trying to get her trapped in a room with a broken lock that can't be unlocked.
I'll say, well, sounds like you have one plan, because I'm not going to lock somebody in a room.
The benefits of obviously speaking with these deep fish people who have their mind intact will be more beneficial than what Mrs. Hastings was talking about with these hybrids who are going through moments of madness potentially. So I know that the spell casting might sound dangerous and probably not the right call, but I believe it is. I feel we need to learn more, and she seemed to be more geared towards us locking her in her room.
Well, I don't know too much about spells or anything like that, so I leave that to y'all's judgment. But just as someone in my business, that doesn't seem right to me, at least that plan.
I understand, Roland.
Would you be willing in the future if someone had proven less than amicable, such as the two fellows that threw our bag overboard?
If they were a danger to us or others, then possibly. But from what I hear of Miss Green, she is not just a trying to do her job.
No need to step on your sensibilities. I'm sure I could keep her distracted if necessary.
But no, I get what you're saying, Roland. It is sneaky and devious, but I do feel like everybody on this ship's life's at risk when we're dealing with these things, so do with that as you... whatever makes you feel comfortable. Maybe over the coming days we will realize that more, and then more drastic actions will be taken in the future. But for now, I think, Mr. Wright, this is on you. You need to distract her, keep her out of the way. We wouldn't want to make people do anything they don't want to do, right? I give you guys a sly look of sneaking me on board.
Kind of have a sheepish smile back. Of course, the faster you were able to do this spell safely, the better our chances.
Of course. We are due to meet her at 9 o'clock-ish, so I feel it's on you now to try and meet up with Miss Green, bump into her, arrange something with her. I don't know.
Did Miss Hastings would know Miss Green's schedule? Perhaps it would be beneficial to time it with one of her chores, and then coincidental meeting could be more organic.
Yes, I didn't ask that, unfortunately.
Of course, it's not too late.
She did say that she was doing... Yeah, Mrs. Hastings in the library. Perhaps you and I
Yeah,
could
for a
just
while,
quickly
yeah.
nip there. I guess Mr. Wright and I can run down there and ask the questions of a schedule that Miss Green might be in a particular location at a particular time that Mr. Wright can happen to bump into later.
Very well. Of course, Roland and I have some news as well. We did meet with the captain, and he's still breathing, so there's that.
Did he look
He definitely seemed still not 100%. Still
Quite
recovering.
haggard, actually.
Yeah.
It's not surprising with what he went through. Does
We had
he
a
remember anything?
His memory is still fuzzy. We didn't have much time to talk about it. He seemed preoccupied with the storm. So he'll be taking the wheel, and we did have the chance to give the room a once over. I didn't see any overt tokens of Miss Cuthbert or any other suspicious paraphernalia, at least.
I didn't notice any tampering with the lock either, so it seemed safe. He did also mention strange dreams over the night. Underwater temple, something about being underwater. Not sure what that could mean.
That he's connected to all of this, to be honest. I think I need to speak with him.
That
So I can speak with him tomorrow.
that would be prudent, though, with discretion. I really hope the guard was a discerning fellow and didn't spread the tale about to his comrades, because tales like that can spread like wildfire and lead to, well, all kinds of nonsense.
Of course, I think
Terrified
he's
crew
insane.
is never a good thing.
No.
I did also suggest he write down the dream if he has another one to help decipher if needed.
Very smart thinking, Roland. I appreciate that. I got your name right 3 times in a row, by the way. I don't know if you'd noticed.
I noticed.
Okay.
I don't think Roland has really paid attention to when you've missaid the name. So he's just basically you say a name that starts with R and he assumes you're talking to him.
He's like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever, fine.
You accepted the fact that I was getting it wrong on purpose. Excellent.
Well, guys, with Emily out and some key stuff happening next, and it's 22:11. Let's wrap it up there. We'll have an exciting evening, afternoon evening of the day ahead of us in the next game.